Okay, so I'm going to go over what you need to do for this correlation study, okay? First, I want to actually just go back to what the point of this is. So, remember, we're going to look at correlating 6 things to overall height. And the 6 things were length of your femur, tibia, humerus, the ulnus, the foot, and the hand to your overall height to see if there's any sort of a correlation. Okay, these are the 3 questions we're going to try to answer. But because we're trying to do like an experiment, one of the things that's really important in experiment is coming up with a hypothesis. Does anyone know what that is? Hypothesis? Yeah? Yeah? Yeah, it's a guess. But it's an educated guess. So it's like, based on some sort of knowledge, right, you can kind of make an educated guess. That it might be totally wrong, by the way, and that's fine. That's okay. Nothing wrong with a wrong guess. So let's say we looked at the hypothesis for number 1. Okay? What do you think the answer would that be? Do they what, though? So obviously, do the 6 things that we're studying, do you think they correlate with overall height? They do, right? So how do you write the hypothesis? It's actually a way to write it. The way you would write it is it would actually look something like this. Can you see this, by the way? Is it big enough? Let's see. Where is my format? Oh, here we go. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Where's the size? Oh, yeah, size right here. Okay, so I'm going to do this. If we compare, what are we comparing? These things, right? So I'm just going to copy that. Put it right here. Paste it. I'm going to make that the same size. Okay. Yeah. So let's say we compare these things to overall height. Then we expect to see what? What do we expect to see? Okay. That there is a correlation between them. Now, we can actually go a little bit further than this, because correlation can mean actually a few things. For example, you can have positive or negative correlation, and then you can have weak or strong. So let me show you what I mean by that. Okay? I'm going to jump to some numbers that I just made up. Okay? They don't mean anything. I just made up these numbers. I'm going to show you, first I'm going to show you the difference between positive and negative correlation. Then I'm going to show you the difference between strong and weak. Okay? So let's look at these 2 sets of numbers. These 2 sets. Is it blurry? Can you see this? It's okay. So let's say we looked at these 2 sets of numbers. Okay? And you can see, let's imagine, maybe, I don't know, maybe this is like your age. And maybe this is, I don't know, how many days you get to go out on your own. Obviously, it's not realistic because you're not going on your own at the age of 1, right? And I'm making this up, all right? So let's say if these 2 sets of numbers have some sort of a connection between them, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to graph them. Actually, graphing is really, really easy. All you have to do to graph is you just simply, you highlight the 2 things you want to graph. And then this is the advantage of recording this now, because if you forget, you can just go watch the video and just rewind. You go to insert, and we're going to insert a chart. And we're going to specifically insert a type of chart called a scatter plot. So I'm going to scroll down here. You're like, oh my God, scatter plots again? I did that when I was in grade 1. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so you can actually see the scatter plot. So there's the scatter plot. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually can do one more thing too. I can actually ask for what's called a trend line. Trend line is a line of best fit. That may ring a bell for you. So here's my trend line. Okay. Now, we graphed 2 sets of numbers, and it looks like there is a connection between the 2 numbers, right? And a positive correlation is one where when one set increases, the other one increases with it. In other words, the slope of the line is pointing up. It's like you're going up a ramp. Okay? That's positive correlation. Now, I can show you negative. So I'm going to actually move this out of the way. So let me show you this one. Look, all I did for that set, this one here, is guess what I just did? I just took the second set, I just reversed it. Okay? Took the second set and reversed it. Imagine when you were 1 year old, you were able to go out on your own 19 times a year. Not realistic. Okay. Now, if we graph this, again, insert, chart, scatter plot. Scatter plot, you can see the numbers are actually decreasing. It's like you're going down the ramp. And we can add a trend line. And you can see that this is the opposite. So in this graph, we have, like, you can see the numbers. There is a correlation, but it's what's called negative. So if I compare the two, you can see this is negative, and that's positive, right? Now, there are both examples of strong correlation. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Let's say we were to compare these two graphs with the last set, which is this set of numbers. Let's say this is, and we can do this if you want, let's say this is height versus heart rate, which I didn't ask you to measure, right? I didn't say that you measure your heart rate. But let's say we did height versus heart rate, and we wanted to graph it. Okay, so let's take a look. Same method, right? Highlight, insert, chart. What kind of chart? Scatter. Scatter plot. We get this. Now, I could probably get a trend line, but you'll notice the trend line doesn't look, I mean, it looks like there's a, it looks like a little ramp, but the thing is, this is an example of probably a very weak correlation. Maybe there is a correlation, but what's different? If I look at this graph and I compare it to the other two, let's try to move this, actually move it over. What do you notice is different about the way the dots are arranged around the line in this graph versus the first two? In other words, in which of the two, which of the three are the dots really far from the line? Yeah? This one, right? This one right here. You notice the dots are really, really far from the line because that's an example of weak correlation. That means the data is all over the place. If you look at the first two examples, what do you see? You see that it looks like the dots are very close to the line. There's a very, very strong correlation between the two data sets. So if we go back to our question, we can actually be a little bit more descriptive in this hypothesis. We could say if it's positive or negative, and then we can say if we think it's weak or strong. Let's add those two words. Positive or negative, and then we'll add weak or strong. What do you think we should put in here? Would it be a positive or negative correlation? Yeah. Okay, let's go with that. There is a positive correlation. Positive and weak or strong? What do you think? You think it'd be a strong correlation? Do you think when we graph it, the data points will be very close to that trend line, or do you think they'll be like all over the place? And don't worry, if you're wrong, it's okay. I'm not sending you out of the country. It's fine. You'll be fine. No one's gonna, come knocking on your door. What do you think? Weak or strong? Weak? Okay, let's go with that. That's fine. Again, it's just a hypothesis. And, so obviously my English needs some work, and a weak positive and a weak correlation between them. That's going to be our hypothesis. What you're going to do is you're going to write the hypothesis for the next two on your own, okay? All right? But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to stop recording because I really wanted to show you just how to graph the sets. And then I'm going to give you now time to make the graphs and then to see what you come up with. Okay? But before you do, I want you to come up with two hypotheses for the other two. Like we which of the 6 do you think is the best correlation? Which of the 6 do you think is the worst correlation? And look at the graphs and see if you can answer the 3 questions. Okay, so let me actually stop.